Hello, today I'm going to take you through some of the work I've been doing with a new NeoPixel panel. This is kind of a unique one, and I apologize for the weird camera angles and lighting, but this is very difficult to film unless you have strong natural light. So I moved it out to the table to kind of give a better demo of what it can do. So this is the M5 Hex unit. So it's part of the M5 stack ecosystem, which is a series of kind of connector driven development where you have these little M5, these Grove connectors, these 4-pin Grove connectors, and you connect these modular units together to make different little systems. So it's kind of, you think of it as like a solderless environment, and that's fine. I wanted to use it with Pico ecosystem. So I've got it plugged into I bought a breakout connector for the Grove, and I've got it connected to a Pimeroni Pico Plus 2W, which I have lying around, and I use in part because it has a reset button and it uses USB-C. So anyway, so I've written some code basically using the Adafruit library for working with NeoPixels. There's a wrapper for that to work with it in C, and I've been writing some code to show off a few things with this and also to teach myself what I can use it for. So right now what it's doing is cycling through a series of animations that I've written. This one's kind of a cube layout, and there's layouts where it treats the surface in terms of being a ring, like you can see here. And then there's ones where it uses polar coordinates, i.e. the distance from the center, to kind of track more complex kind of arrangements. What I've been doing for the last week is trying to figure out how to get this mounted in a structure, like an enclosure of some kind, maybe a flashlight body or a telescope or binoculars or some kind of way for you to view it and enjoy it. I think this unit is a little too small to make a light fixture that would cover any kind of area, but as a kind of fascinator that you walk up to and observe, it's kind of cool. So right now you can see it's running through a sine wave rainbow pattern. What I'll start to show you is, first of all, I have these lying around, just a thin disc of acrylic with a little layer of white on each side. Just diffuses it just enough that you can see it a little better. Kind of take some of the harshness out of it. So, but it doesn't do anything to spread it out or change how it looks. It's a very flat unit, and that's fine. But what I wanted is maybe something that would fill a small volume. You can see here an eyeball animation that I made using my system of polar coordinates. So that was the first I just had lying around. Up till now, I've been doing a lot with found diffusers or things that I purchased. But lately, since I've been getting into 3D printing, I have started making custom diffusers. And this is the first one I made for this unit, mainly to test and see that I had the dimensions correct from the spec sheet to make a click-on, very tight fit. So that's the first one I did, but still, it just diffuses. It's very flat. So what I really wanted is to make it fill more of kind of a spherical shape so that it appears to have some depth. So what I did was make a hemisphere, a convex hemisphere with holes in it to let the light through. And you can see when you look at it straight on, the effect is very similar. But when you look at it from the side, the material is thin enough to spread out the light. I like the effect. It's very nice. But all of the effects, unless you're looking dead on, all of the effects are kind of spread out and blurred. So it's not good for something like the eyeball, which is coming up in a minute now. But you can't really see it very well. So I tried adding a diffuser. This is just a hemispherical diffuser that I added to it. And it does soften the effect a little bit, but it doesn't do anything to help with the clearness of it. It's still kind of muddied. For the right project, it could be good, but you see the eyeball is kind of washed out. You can barely tell where the center of the eye is, and the black part of the eye is not good at all. But in doing this, I discovered something interesting in that these hemispherical diffusers that I made act as a kind of hemispherical Fresnel lens because the layer lines have a little bit of reflection in them. So you end up with these really interesting kind of effects. I probably won't use this for this project, but for the right project, I think it could be really fun. So I'm saving that idea for other things, and I'll come back to this diffuser shell, which I use in a different way. So the next thing I thought is, okay, white filament is going to let too much bleed from one pixel to the other. So why not use black filament? This one doesn't click on quite as nicely, but you can see this is black PET G. It doesn't really matter except that it's a little bit reflective and otherwise does not let the material bleed through. You can see that the effects are very clean, whether you're viewing it straight on. And this one is concave. That's where I started with. I think for the right project, this could be very good. But the depth is kind of like, you know, when you stare at a concave mask, you see a positive when in fact it's a negative space. So it can work to look like a 3D object, and it doesn't take any space vertically. So it could be good for like an embedded display or control, maybe for a music visualization. So what I did next was to make an insert, just a diffuser, and this is the white plastic, which does a nice job of spreading out the light a little bit and softening some of the harshness of the direct light. So you get all the advantages of the cleanness between the pixels, and then you get the advantages of the white as well. So that was that iteration. And then I thought, well, let's go back and see how a convex black plastic bit would look. So right now this is without a diffuser. Very clean as before. So then I designed a shell to cover that. And let me just hold this up so you can see it. Oop, yeah, this one doesn't click quite as tightly, so I'll have to hold it to show you. And I'll try to get some different angles so that you can see that it does somewhat fill the shape. You can see that the pixels on the very edge, because of the way I cut the holes, are a bit distorted, but especially for effects in the center, it gives you a nice feeling of being projected on a sphere. And I'm going to wait for the eyeball to come up because that's really the best demonstration of this, and that'll come up right after the rainbow. Yep, almost. Yep. Here we go. All right, and then it'll start repeating. So, and as before, each of these new versions of the diffuser turns out to be kind of fun in its own way. This one I did experiment with using ironing to try to smooth out some of the kind of artifacting, especially toward the center. You get kind of less of a lens and more of kind of like a snarl of transparent plastic. I'll try experimenting a little bit more with ironing settings to see if I can get that a little smoother. But for now, I think what I have is adequate, and that's probably what I'm going to use is this convex unit. And let me see if I can get the better. Actually, I have a better lens that I printed yesterday. This one is pretty tight, and it makes for a nice effect. So anyway, this is probably what I'll end up using depending on how strong I want it. But now I have a range of options for working with it. So I need to figure out a couple of key things with this, and I'll show. This will be the end of the demo when I show you this. But when I hit the reset button, instead of running my code again, it will immediately wedge and light the first pixel. I'm not sure whether this is a feature of the hardware or the software stack that I'm using, so I'm going to experiment with using maybe an M5 stack unit, a few other libraries to see if I can figure out what's going on with this. I have to reflash the unit to get the lights to work again, which obviously I can't do that if I'm going to make it an installation somewhere. So that's the big thing I've got to figure out next. But for now, I think we've come pretty far. I can drive the unit off of a Pico, which is what I wanted. I've got a lot of great ideas about diffusers. And I'm hoping to pick up a body to put this in soon. Maybe an otherwise not working telescope, or just a tube even, that I can put some mirrored material into. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that demo, and I will show you what I've got when I've got it.